This evening, we have a few people that are here to have give you an update. Also, toward the end is when we're going to do the Q&A. We have a lot of information tonight, I think, to pass on and questions to answer. And we'll start off with John Boudreaux with the parish giving an update.
Thank you, Karen. First of all, I want to give Marty's apology. He is out of town today. He could not make it tonight. So he did pass on that he apologized for not being able to make it tonight. Just real quick on a parish update. We continue to have our air monitors out in the community. We currently have 7 air monitors called area rays out in the community. We continue to respond to questions as we get them in. Hopefully I'm getting timely responses back. I'm doing my best with that. We continue to have our meetings with the state agencies twice a week. We continue to do a flyover once a week and post that video online. We're continuing to try to provide as much information as we can as we get it in. You're going to hear tonight some of the Shaw Group experts. Again, they're providing that information to us so we can make informed decisions. There's still a lot of unanswered questions, as you all know, and I'm want to pass on that I still have a lot of unanswered questions, and we're going to continue to work hard, continue to be there until some of this scientific data can be collected and we can evaluate the risk that has been brought upon us. So from a parish standpoint, we continue to be there. We continue to do the air monitoring each day. We continue to boat run, monitor the bubbling that's in the waterways, and we'll still continue that until we can get some better information on what is actually happening and feel good about the risk. So thank you very much.
Thank you, John. Next will be Bruce Martin with Texas Brine.
Good evening, folks. I think I've talked to you before, at least me and Mark Cartwright, kind of my peer at Texas Brine. Again, my name is Bruce Martin. I'm Vice President of Operations for Texas Brine. I want to give you a brief update on kind of what progress is being made over the last couple of weeks. I think the last time I was here, we talked on the 9th, and then there was another meeting a couple of weeks ago. First of all, on the sinkhole and the status of it and cleanup efforts. Overall, the sinkhole's has become what appears to be more stable, more quiet, less movement than what obviously we saw in the first couple of months. You know, the bottom of the sinkhole, as we measured around on October 4th, was around 445 foot in the center. On October 30th, it measured about 170 foot. And then we had a sloughing event where there was some edges of the sinkhole on the east and southeastern quadrant of the sinkhole, and some trees fell in. So we repeated the depth survey on the 1st, Thursday the 1st. And the maximum depth we found then was around 115 feet. We'd like to think that that's a sign of it stabilizing, but we're taking another depth profile again this week, late this week. So more data to come on that. After the sloughing in event that occurred on the 30th, it definitely appeared that the gas bubbling that was going on in the center of the sinkhole seemed to reduce significantly. And we really haven't seen that much come up from the center of the sinkhole since then, as we had been seeing pretty routinely before that. From a hydrocarbon standpoint, the vast majority of the hydrocarbon on the surface of the sinkhole has been removed. We're now focused in the outer edges. We've actually, if you see the flyover videos or pictures, you'll see that we've actually taken the oil containment boom and had to section off portions of the sinkhole in the outer perimeter so that we can kind of focus with wind and keep everything contained to where we can recover it near the mat road on the southeast portion of the sinkhole. To date, I think the total is somewhere around 1,900 barrels of material has been pulled off. Per the reclaimer that's taken this material, the composition has changed over time. It was more crude oil in the beginning, and now it's less crude oil, more waxy. At least that's what they're telling us. But we continue to remove it. We've got like 3 mop skimmers and several vacuum skimmers working as we try to, actually we have an airboat or 2 trying to push this material to the skimmers, but also recovering it out on the sinkhole. And again, that was primary work last week. Now this week our efforts are focused on the edges around the perimeter of it. The majority of the vegetation and debris has been removed from the sinkhole. We continue to keep containment around the sinkhole with the hydrocarbon, the oil containment booms that have been in place since the beginning. From a future plan standpoint, obviously we're going to continue to remove hydrocarbon until we can't get any more off of that. And we're monitoring the sinkhole. It's one of the reasons we've sectioned the sinkhole off with containment booms, is so that we can monitor the center where we had been seeing the bubbling to see if there's any more bubbling or any more hydrocarbons arrive to the surface. And we are working with several sinkhole experts, national experts, to complete a study that to confirm what and provide estimates on how big this sinkhole is going to get, both size and the depth and everything like that. So that work is underway, and we should be seeing something on that fairly soon. So in the past month, there's been a lot of progress made on the sinkhole, and I think you can see that when you look at the aerial photos and the flyovers. One thing about the sinkhole, as I mentioned, the maximum depth is around 115 foot in the center. There's actually, when you look at the tree line, that is where we consider the edge of the sinkhole. That's where, there's water that is a depth of about 10 foot, and then it drops to a deeper depth. As some of the profiles that we provided to DNR and the parish. Outside the sinkhole, there's an area of soil and, the surface where it is sunken down, and that's the general subsidence that has occurred as a result of the aquifer, the sands from the aquifer running out below that into the center of the sinkhole. So the material that most likely helped fill this deep hole is also what's causing the subsidence in the area around. So it's kind of like a bowl, and then you have a deeper portion in the middle. But I just wanted to point that out in case you see, as you see the aerial pictures, kind of what you're looking at. From a relief well, a shallow aquifer relief well, a month ago we had just gotten ours, early this month we had just gotten our well completed. We started venting it on the 2nd of November. We've got a rental flare system installed, I think it was on the 5th. And up until yesterday, we were flaring about 30,000 cubic feet a day. We did some modifications to the well to remove some water in the casing. And as a result, that flaring rate basically doubled, went to about 65,000 cubic feet a day. We're going to continue to look and see if there's opportunities to accelerate or increase that even more. To date, we've flared about 270,000 cubic feet of gas. So that continues to run 24/7. Back in September, near the relief well, we installed what we call as a core well that we installed to mainly get core samples of the soil from the surface all the way down to the cap rock. And we did get those samples to help us understand what the characteristics of the sinkhole were going to do and what the overburden, if you will, how it will react. We were also going to use that core well to install geophones to help in the overall seismic study in the area. But due to problems with how that well was completed and the presence of gas pressure below, it doesn't look like that core well is going to be able to be used for geophones at this point. What we're currently planning is to recomplete that well to be a aquifer or a vent well to actually vent off gas that we found when we were putting it in at about the 400 to 450 foot depth. It's actually a zone that we found under pressure actually below the aquifer, if you will. So there's an upper confining layer of clay, the sand aquifer, a lower confining layer of clay. This well that we want to complete will actually vent gas off from below that. So that work's in progress, and that's something we hope to see in the next couple of weeks to recomplete that well and add another vent well to the process. Let's see. I think that's, it's the status of our aquifer, our relief well. If you drive by at night, you'll see the flare back in there. It's about a 5 to 10 foot flame on that flare. In terms of the observation well, we call it OG3A. You'll see number 3 cavern. This is the observation well that we drilled back into cavern number 3. We continue regular hydrocarbon removal from that well, typically Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays, where we pull off in the neighborhood of 50 to 70 barrels of hydrocarbon till the casing pressure drops to a certain point, because we really don't want to pull brine up into that casing because it could have a tendency to plug off. We continue to, when we do remove hydrocarbons, we pump brine back in just to keep cavern pressure steady. And we have an ongoing 24-hour-a-day pressure monitoring system to monitor the pressure. And the reality is that pressure in the past couple of weeks has come down about 70 to 80 pounds of pressure. It appears that the volume of hydrocarbon that we're pulling off the well is also reducing. All of this tends to give us, we think, maybe an indication that the well may be stabilizing also. But it's going to take more time to tell. The bottom of the cavern, since we first entered it and first measured it on September 24th, has come up about 63 feet. So there has continued to be some sediment go into the bottom of this cavern and actually raise that floor. So it's a little bit over three-fourths full of sediment compared to what it was when we plugged it back in 2011. We continue to take total depth measurements about weekly. This past week we only saw a 4-foot rise. The week before that we saw a 13-foot rise. So it's just going to take time to see how this thing stabilizes out. Plans going forward, we're going to continue to remove hydrocarbons from that on a regular basis. Continue to take measurement of the total depth and cavern pressure, and just continue to monitor. In terms of overall future plans, we just received approval today from DNR on 2 directives we had from the October 11th order. One for installation of geoprobe wells and pressure monitoring wells in the Bayou Corn community. I think we have 6 more geoprobe wells and 2 monitoring or observation wells, as well as 3 more on the Texas Brine facility. And we've also gotten approval for a plan associated with groundwater monitoring.